So getting your head around it in terms of how to work with an interactive banner in Adobe Animate in the creation of a 1000 by 1000 pixel file. So this file has also got a hit state on it. You see it's just a big button, it's just a banner. So it's just looking at banner design. So if I click on it, then it'll just take you to a website. And so there you go. Now this one has actually just been created so it's responsive in terms of size, but normally wouldn't do this, but I just want to show you how easy it is to do basically anything you want. So let's just have a little bit on how we do this. So I'm just going to close this for now, and here is my files that I'm working with just down here. So a Animate file and a Photoshop file, that's all I need to start with, and then I'm just going to create this HTML file. It's a JavaScript file that goes with it, and then the images just put together here as well. So just to show you a little bit clearer in size, and it's just combined, but that's going to just be made from these two ping files. So what we're going to do is go through and put this together. Now to start off with, let's have a look at just the Photoshop file. So here's the Photoshop file, and I've just divided this into two layers. So if I just go and click this top layer here, I'm just on the move tool, and you see we can just move it anywhere we like. But we don't need to move it, we just need to get it ready to go and get it exported, so I can actually put it really anywhere on the page I want. And then we're going to put this into Animate. So let's just go and have a look at Adobe Animate. So here's the Adobe Animate file. Now I've got a border right at the base, and as we go through the robot body, I've got a little bit of a yellow banner that you can see that just comes in here on the timeline, and we labeled everything as we go through. And what I've got right up here is just not very easy to see. If I just turn on, you can see how the color changes there. It's just one big hit state, one big button, which is only set on the hit. And then I put some JavaScript there, which will be in the Actions panel. So just here, and what I can do is just control click on that. And if I control click, and I'll just try that once more, and then it should just come up with the actions. And just out of view here to see it, but there's the actions. And it's just basically putting these actions, in this case, to go into a blank page. So this is all being done through the word wizard as well. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take you through in the creation of putting this together, and then we're going to get the same output. So let's start off from the beginning, and let's go. Okay, here I am in Photoshop, and I've just got two layers as we looked at before, but what I want to do is just focus on just one for now. I'm just going to focus on the hand and just target that, and all I want to do is just get a selection of just that graphic. So the best way to do it is it's on a transparent background, so that's fine. I'm just going to grab a selection with a square marquee tool just up there, the rectangle marquee tool, and just going to take that down so I get a bit of selection, and that's capturing everything. That's exactly what I want. And I'm just going to go to image, and I'm going to go to crop, and there's my first image. Now all I want to do is I just want to save a copy, because it's at the moment it's in layers, so I can get access to the ping file. And so I'm just going to call this let's see, robot hand, and I'm just going to change the name like so, and I'm going to just change this down here in the format just to a ping. So just within that file there, we should be able to just come down here and see ping. I click on that, let's change it to a ping, and I'm just going to save that into the file. Now I've already saved these, but just showing you how to do it, and I'll just go save. I'm just going to cancel that. Now what I'll do is I'm just going to undo this one, so just Command Z in Photoshop or Control Z in the PC, and then do the reverse. And then I just put this on, and gosh, this might even fit if I'm on the selection mode just to get that in there. It doesn't, so that's no problem. Just drag another one outside here, and I just want to get the second one. And we do the same process. And basically that's all we need to do with Photoshop. Of course, you do the illustrations or the artwork, whether it's photographic images or drawn, it doesn't matter, but we're working with pixel art. That's the key thing. So I don't want to say that, and I'll just close that like so. So what I want from my Photoshop file is now these two files, and I've got them labeled and ready to go. So the next thing will be putting them, importing them into a Adobe FLAR file, which is basically Adobe Animate. So let's just go and open this one up. And as I mentioned, here is the file that we had before, and it's basically on a timeline with a whole series of layers. So let's just go through and create that from the beginning. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to go File, and I'm just going to go New. Now when you're creating a new file, we're doing a web output. So what we want with this one is actually to definitely get an HTML canvas view, etc. So anyway, as it loads up here, we actually get a choice of all sorts of different document sizes, social media, and it gets larger and larger, basically character animation, and you can see here's the sizes that it's giving you as well. So what I want to do for this one, I'm going to still do a custom one, but it could be right through, in our case, something to do with web, seeing that's what I want to do. So this one's an 800 by 600, so that would be fine, but what I'm going to do with my one is I'm just going to do it as a custom one. So just 1,000 times 1,000. Now what I also want is, depending on how you're going to run with this, standard version is say 30 frames a second. If you're doing something, depending on what platform, you might need to do 24 or 25 if it's relating to other things like AR, augmented reality, or other uses, etc. But for my one, I'm actually just going to put on 25 frames. So the standard is 30 and it's going to be fine. But we also, of course, want HTML5 canvas. Okay, that's the one we want there. And I'm just going to go create. And it should just go through and create this blank file. So what we've got no time on here. We've just got one blank layer, and all we need to do is start creating our imagery. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to show all, just so I get my frame here. In fact, I might even just drop down a little bit more. And the first thing I want is a border. So I'm going to go and create that. So if I double click on this layer, I'm just going to call it border. So really label your art. With the border labeled, let's go through and make it, and also put some time on here. Just before I do that, I'm just going to make sure that I've saved it. So I'm just going to go through and, of course, save my file. So make sure you're saving it, and save it regularly as well, just to be on the safe side, like anything you're working with. So I'll just call it robot add 2. That should do the trick. And just save my flash file, FLAR file, or animate file, whatever you want to call it, and we're good to go. So let's go through and just go and have a look at the other one, just to get a bit of an idea. So we're going to go through and create some time. Now, whatever time amount you want, you now have to think about that. It could be less or more. Remember, we're on canvas as well. Now, if you do have a problem with it not being on canvas, you can just come back actually up to the top with your Animate, and you can go convert to canvas. We're already in canvas, so we're good, but this is where we can convert to any format. So let's go and put that together. So I'm just going to click on my border tool. Now, instead of being just on the rectangle tool, I want to get curved corners on my one. So I'm just going to go through and drag it from this selection. And I'm just going to drag a border. I'm just going to drag slightly inside here, just so I can see where that's going. And actually my border is quite thick. I've got mine perfect here, but at any stage you can just size it. Mine is 26, so you can get bigger or smaller. And so just drag it like so. I'll go with 26. And of course, if you want a color, then you just click on your color or fill. If you don't want any color or fill, if I just drag this in, just so we see what's going on here, you can just click on this at any stage, and then you can actually just go through to having none or whatever. So anyway, I'm going to stay with that color and just bring this back up again. Okay, so the other thing is I'm just going to make this short and sweet. We're just going to have a few seconds that are running the show. maybe even 3 seconds. So let's see, 25 frames per second, that's what we're working with, and that's what we set it up. So let's go through and get some frames. Now we can reduce it down here or bring it up to whatever we want. So I'm going to make mine about 75 seconds long, just so I get 3 seconds. So take it a bit smaller. There's my 75. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add in a frame. Now, actually, I'm not going to add in a frame, I'm going to add in some time. So basically, if I click on here, just to establish where it is, and if you go Insert and you've got Timeline, we can just go through to Frame, Keyframe, or Blank Keyframe. A keyframe will give it a whole new version, as with a keyframe like below. Frame will just extends the time, and that's what I want for this one. Blank keyframe will just make it empty. So I want frame, or F5. And here we are, we've still got the border and everything, and this is establishing the timeline. Once again, I'm just going to go through and save it, and basically our border is good to go. I'm not doing any animation on that, so I'm going to lock it off, really important, and click on a new layer. So what's the next thing we're going to put in here? Well, I'm just going to put the robot body, and actually, you know what, that's not going to move too much either. So let's go and call that robot body. We can label that anytime we want. Robot body. Now you'll see if I just label like so, this program doesn't like it like that. It likes to have an underscore in the layers. So just put an underscore there, and then you can go return. And there you go, good to go. It will do one anyway if you don't do it. So let's go and put the robot in there. So I'm now just going to make sure all your files are in the right folder, of course. I'm just going to go and just go import, and I want to import to stage. Now you can't go to library because we're going to make this a symbol in a minute, as you see, but it's easy to work on stage. So import to stage. We should have everything at the right size anyway, because we had our pixels put together just nicely. So let's come along here, and of course we're looking for, oh look, there's the ping file with the body. And let's see, then I'm going to have my hand file just over here, ping, of course. So I'm just going to bring the body and just going to go open, and there it is. Look, it's all the right size and everything. Pointer tool, and I'm just going to take that down to where I want that to go. And maybe just a bit lower there because it's room for the head. So there's our body, and we've still got that same timeline. See, we've got basically 3 seconds that goes through. And really, I don't need to do anything with this one. It doesn't even need to be a symbol because it's not going to move. If it's going to move, then make it a symbol. So anyway, I can lock this one off. Okay, so of course make sure I go through and save that again. So we've got our 2 easy ones to go. We've just got our next version, which is going to be up here. If we have a look at this. So just body, and let's see, we've got yellow banner and all that sort of things. Of course, we can move our layers anywhere we want. And I just want to put the head, actually it's the head and the hand that's going to come in next, just so we can get this animation that's going to look like this. So let's just go over to this one and just make sure it's saved. Great, it is saved. And we're just going to import that in. So you guessed it, we're going to create just a new layer. So let's see, new layer icon. Remember, we can move our layers anywhere we want, so I'll just do that once more. And I'm just going to go to head hand. And let's bring this in, return key. And what? I didn't do my right underscore, and it's asking me here. So I'll go OK, and look what it's done for you. So let's go and just bring that in, file, and import to stage again. And I'm going to make this simple as I mentioned before, but we'll do it this way, just to make sure everything's working. Here we are, head, hand, and just open, and it should come in just here. And of course, I can move that to wherever I want. In fact, I might even want to bring it up a bit bigger, or I might be happy with that size, just as long as it's going to fit. And we're good to go. So we can do some animation with that. So let's go and do the animation. Okay, so animation, I'm going to bring it all the way back to the beginning so we can start it from animating, but it's not going to work like this. It's just a ping file. What we need is a graphic symbol for it to work. So I've just selected on it like so, and if you come along to Object, then you can see this little object here and it says convert to symbol. We're going to make this a library item. It's not a library item at the moment, so I'll click on this and we're going to work with a graphic. Now, just the naming convention, GR, just under lowercase, underscore, and I'm going to call this head. You could call it head hand, but head will be fine. And I don't want it to be a button, I want it to be a graphic. So we've got movie clips, buttons, and graphics. Now we're not going to really work with movie clips. Movie clips get a little bit more complicated and you can do a lot more with them, but just want to make a really simple banner ad. I'm just going to stay with these two. So graphic, and I'm basically just leaving it in the registration center, and I'll go OK. And this sort of has changed a little bit, and let's go and have a look at the library. And there's our graphic here. So we've got two objects in the library, but only one is the graphic, which gives us the ability to animate. So let's just come back to our properties here and bring it back to the start of the timeline and do some animation. So what I'm going to do to get this animating is, as a symbol, I'm going to start off with the first frame here, and I'm going to drag it just off the page a little bit, like so. Actually, maybe a bit more, just off the border, so it doesn't get picked up. That's great. Then I need another keyframe. So let's see, we're on our head hand. I'm going to click all the way over here, and so it's just established with that one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go control click, or you can go right click, and we can insert a keyframe, or you can click it from here. But we want to, either way, we want it to be a keyframe. Now you can see you can remove things, do all sorts from here as well. But what I want to do is insert a keyframe. And there it is, it's still visible, but we've got another keyframe. All I need to do is drag this to where I want it to go. So I'm just going to now drag it. So we've got it in position just there. And then I'm just going to put my timeline animation in there, because at the moment it's there or it's there, and I also don't want the hand to be cut off, so I have to be careful on how that's going to work. So how do we work this? I'm just going to click in the middle here. Now we can go and you can insert, we just want a classic tween. Tweening is between the keyframes, and I'm just going to put that in there, and I've just established that in there. We can also right click and do the same thing. So if I'll try it this way, or control click, and I just want to insert not a motion tween, just a classic tween for this one. And if it's a solid line, it's not broken, things are working well. So let's see how that goes through here. Great, the hand's not been cut off, and it just finishes there nicely. Okay, so that's great. So if I just play that actually at speed over that amount of time, so here's the play button, and we see that coming in there. And really, actually, it's just going a little bit slow, and I don't want it to be all the way through there. I want it to get there a little bit easier, more like 2 seconds. So if I click on this keyframe here, what I can do is I can actually drag it, and let's see, I just want to finish about 2 seconds. Okay, so so there you go. It's going to come through here, and then it's going to stop, and it's just going to hold there for the time being. And of course you got it, I better just save that. So actually when we're on keyframes, if I just say click on my frame here, we can also do things like classic easing in and easing out, etc. So if I click on this, I can actually just go and make it sort of not just so static, but I just want to ease in, out. And you see they get this curve, which let me show you. If you didn't see that because it was cut off, we get this curve that should be coming through just like so, and that's what we want. So that curve, and that's ease in, ease out, and great. So we've got that, and I'm just going to just stay with the standard one and move out and just see how that actually plays now. So we'll go back to the play, or drag it back and put it back there, and let's just go through and click on the play button, see how that's looking. Yeah, and that sort of just speeds up a bit and then just stops there. and it's great. That's how I want it. So I can basically lock off this layer now. Now that's our animation done, if you will. We've just got some text to put in there, and then we've got our button. So we're going really well. Some typography. Let's put a title in here. So let's just simply go through and create a new layer. So new layer on top, and we'll call that header. I'm just going to keep this nice and simple just to show the process. So we're going to put some type in here. Let's see, I'll just go to my type tool, and I'm just going to, just to showcase this, robot ahead. So that'll do for my title. And okay, so here's my type and my color. So I can choose any color and any type I want, so kind of like that typography. And of course you'll see where it's coming right at the beginning here. Now we want to sort of animate this a little bit as well. In fact, what I might do is just return it onto a second layer. And I still need to have that as a symbol. So there it is, a symbol. And what I can do is go over and put it into a symbol. And I'm in my object mode here where I want to click it as a symbol. I can actually come up to modify, and I can convert to a symbol here. But let's just go and do that. And I'm going to put this together. Now actually, just before I do that, what I'm going to do is I may want to share this file around. I don't really want to change the text and make sure everybody's got it. So I'm going to actually also convert this to a path, or convert it to non-text, if you will. So anyway, I'm just going to go through, and remember it's graphic here. So GR, and I'll just call this header. I'll call it just head, make it nice and simple, or header, just so I don't get confused with the graphic head. And I'm just going to go OK, and you see that has changed now. And of course we come over to library. There it is just a header. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on here, and there it is, just the graphic. And it's on its own timeline as well. So we can have that animating around and doing all sorts of things if we want to have a symbol within a symbol within a symbol, if you will. But anyway, just keep this really simple. So I'm just going to make sure that's all selected like so. And if we just come up to basically modify, or we just go Command B, and it just breaks apart. Now what we can also do is we can have all these as separate symbols, and we can actually have these on different timelines as well. But I'm not going to make that confusing. I just want to break it apart again, but that's sort of why it's sort of done that. And this time Command B, and it's broken apart. I might just change with that just a little bit and just bring it, just to line it up just a little bit more. In fact, I can get the tools here just to maybe hold my shift key down here. I'm just going to just make it a little bit bigger, just to make it a bit more interesting. I might just have this touching, just to do something a little bit more cool with it. Oops, so I might even take that up and play with some eye effects as well. Or of course you can do this sort of thing with it as well, but I didn't actually want to do that. Just click on it, and if I might go back to the pointer tool and just bring that up like so as well. So just to make things a little bit more interesting there. In fact, while I'm here, I might even actually just get the circular circle tool here. So just down, it's hidden under here, of course. And with the little ovals, might make just a tiny little eye. And I'm just going to click on that. Bring that in. And then actually that got a bit broken apart. I'll just go again and undo it. That's better. And just bring it in like so. And I'm just going to option drag that over to this side as well. So there's something just a little bit different anyway. So we've got this, and I just want to put a little bit of an eye color behind there as well to make it a bit more scary. So I'm just going to add in one more layer, and I'm going to put this just below here, and I'm just going to lock this one off. And just with that circle tool again, I'm just going to, actually I'll make this a little bit bigger, Command plus, and I'm just going to create a circle shape just beneath like so, and I'm just going to give this a color just to make it stand out. So back to the pointer tool, click on it, and let's see, we'll just come back to properties, and we'll just look on, let's see, it's actually a stroke color that's coming through here. So let's just convert it the other way, and this time I'm just going to click on the stroke and go none, and just make sure that the graphic is the color that I want. So let's go back and let's try another color, but maybe actually even make it a bit scarier. That's cool. And I'm just going to option drag that across over to there as well. So there you go. We've got that in 2 layers, but it's just in its own symbol. So I could label that, and I might just do the top one, and I'll put it eyes just on the front. And I'm just going to call that just background, or maybe O's. O's. Just try labeling it that way, see how it's going to do that. Maybe O's. And see how it's going to set that label. No, it won't. So we'll just go OK, and here it is like so. And then just go back to our front layer again. Okay, so not the actual other file, but just clicking back on the arrow here. And there we are back in place, and what I'm just going to do is just make sure that fits again. So fit in window, and there it is. And here it is on this layer. So I just want this to move a little bit, so I'm going to basically do the same thing. I'm going to just put in a keyframe just here, and I'm just going to this time option click and just go insert keyframe. I'm just going to put a little bit of animation into the mix here, so just control click, and we just want to do, remember it's just classic tween. And so what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to do a start from down the bottom. So click on that first one, and I can just have it running down the bottom here. We just want it to come straight up. Maybe I'll come up from an angle on this side, and then we should have that other frame fitting in there. And there you go. And then it's just going to stay there. So what you see on this one, we've got a dotted line here. It's trying to put that classic animation all the way across. So with this frame here, I can simply just go back and click on this, and I can just remove the classic tween. And it's gone, because we don't need it, but it should still stay there just as a static file. So here we go. So that's really all I'm going to do for my text at the moment. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to save this. And the next thing we're going to do is just put a button in place. Okay, let's go and give it a button and give it some actions and then just publish it. So how do we do that? Well, let's just go through, and we've locked this off, make sure it's saved, and I'm going to go to just a new layer. Number one, let's make a button. So I'm just going to call this btn underscore, and I'll just go click, just so I know it's definitely a button, and I'm going to click it. You can really call it anything you like, no problems. But so here's our button, or where it's going to be. There's no button there, of course. So on its own layer, I'm now just going to go through and just get my rectangle tool, and I'm going to go just a bit inside here, and I just want to make that area selected. I'm just using just the fill area alone, just to make it nice and easy. Can have any color I want, really doesn't matter, but I'm going to stay with that. That'll be fine, and I'm just going to come back and just click on that. I need to convert this to a symbol. Okay. So what we need to do is I'm just going to go through and convert to a symbol. So here we are, convert to symbol, and we want this, of course, to be a button, not a graphic, just a button to make this really simple. And I'm going to call this btn and just underscore, and I'm going to call this click me, just to make sure that it's easy to work with, and I'll go OK. And here it is, still on stage, but now it's become a symbol. Let's just double click on this. And here it is inside the state. All we need to do is just drag it to the hit state. We want this to be invisible. You see if I move that out, it's sort of invisible, and then we just come back through to our stage. So of course I can turn that off anytime I want as well, but anyway, it's on there, and we've got our button. Okay, so with the button, if I click on the button, we need to give it an instance name because you want to call it in the code. Over here in Object, I'm just going to go to, let's see, BTN, that's the naming convention, underscore, and I'll go just click, just so I know what's happening there. And that's really the instant name we have to start looking for. Okay, not click me, but just click for this one. And I'll hit the return key. And you've guessed it, we've sort of done our button. So let's just go up and do one more layout. We're going to call this Actions. And hit the return key there. And make sure we go to the first keyframe. Now we can control click, we can get our actions all over the place, but mainly, even F9 actually, if we come down here, let's see, we're going to look for actions, F9, and it comes up with the actions panel. Now we want to go to a web page, so I'm going to go add basically the helper actions, make it really easy on yourself with the wizard, and web page as I mentioned, click on that, and this is where we just need to go through and give it a HTTP name. So I'm going to go HTTPS, more secure, and / and I'm going to go chip and chuck.co.nz. That should be good. And of course I want to go to new page underscore blank. So that's great. So let's just go next, and we want to do this with on mouse click. And there you go, there's our naming convention on the stage, and we did it as click me. So I'll click on that, and it comes back up here, and I'll just go finish and add. That's really all we need to do, and there's the code all written for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close the actions panel now, just make sure we've got it saved, and we're just going to publish it. So let's go through and publish it by going File, and we come down here, Publish Settings. Now what we really want is no sound on this, so you can turn the sound off if it's already on. We do need to click the image folder because it's going to work really with that image folder we've already got because it's in the same area there. Probably just add that second image into it, but otherwise we'll just add that one sprite sheet into it. You'll see what I mean. Now I've got center and stage, you don't have to have that on. Also got, I want to make it responsive. You might not want to do that for the actual graphic, but I would just want to do it for this just so it looks better and it works, but shows you can do it as well. So that looks good. So it's going to HTML5 and JavaScript file. I'm just going to go publish. It's going through and publishing it, and I'm just going to go OK now, and back to the timeline. I'll just make sure this is saved. So save, and I can just minimize that. Now I've just minimized these files here, but what we should have is the robot 2 and the JavaScript page and just that. So if I just make sure that that's just a little bit bigger so we can see it there, that's it. But the file we're going to click on is just robot2.html, and let's see how that one comes out. And look at that, fantastic. And it's just going to be a looping file, and as I mentioned, it's also responsive. So there you go, we've made our clickable banner which has an action, and I'll just test that once more. I'll click on it, and Bob's your uncle, sure as could be, it's gone to the site as a blank page, so I can close that. So all working really well. So thank you for watching.